Hello, this is Dr. Jason Munsell. It is about 12:07 Tuesday, July 12th, Amazon Prime Day. Apparently they're having some problems. Maybe that's a... in any case, hope you're doing well. This is our second day, sort of kind of the fifth week. I'm still going through some of Chapter 7. I didn't get through all of Chapter 7 yesterday. You might know, I know Wanda does, that I am also starting to teach the LA 2211 class, which is a hybrid class, so we meet face-to-face Monday, Wednesday nights, and then the rest of the stuff is online, so I got a lot of stuff going on. But in any case, so I'm going to try to get through a little bit more of Chapter 7 today, and I have put a new thread up. So hopefully you have seen that. It deals with Chapter 7 and slogans, in part because in the newest assignment, the paper assignment, I'm asking you to come up with a new slogan for whatever your site is, your tour site, attraction, whatever you want to call it, for that paper number 2. You itchy boy? I think it's over there. So I sort of ended with the metaphor stuff. We're still in part 1. I'm pulling that up if you can see it. You probably can't. Yeah, you can. We just talked about some of the different things that the book talks about so far as language. And one of the things that's really important to me is that you do understand metaphor. It's a very important area in this book, obviously. I never did put the more rhetorical figures up, did I? Oh well, you have enough there. Metaphor, well, you know what a metaphor is, hopefully. It's comparison between two things that are not alike, but might have similar blah blah blahness. Love is a rose. What is it? Every rose has its thorn, like some cowboy sings the same words. Every rose has its thorn. But then that itself is a metaphor for love, in any case. So, metaphor, a little lecture here. Frame, I'm going to live together. And the book does talk about frames later on, and a frame is just like, it talks, the book gets way too into Burkean theory. You can read that stuff. In graduate school, I took a graduate seminar that was just on Burke. So like a semester of the stuff that's in here. So some of it's good, it's good information, not all of it is terribly practical. But read it, and if you want extra education, if you care about your education, you can take a look at the extra stuff that I put on KC for Kenneth Burke. But basically, a frame as a frame is like a picture frame. It frames something, or the frame in the movie theater. This right here, we're in this area right here, looking at this instead of if I moved it over here, that would be wonky. But I could. So we've got, this is a very dirty house, by the way. Finn going, hey, what's going on? Say hello. Say hello to all my students. Say hello. Go, woo. He's smelling you guys. He goes, persuasion students smell good. Okay. So, so it's a way of looking at things, right? And the way of looking at things is often, or not often, also a way of not looking at things. So in any case, so it's a frame. It gives us a certain perspective. It gives us a certain point of view that is a certain point of view and not another point of view. And how it oftentimes is talked about theoretically is that we have a vehicle and a tenor. A vehicle is the metaphor itself, and tenor is this thing that we're giving new perspective to. So the next little bullet point here is that, I should do this. You probably can't see this, but in any case, no, you can't see it. Anyway, it's sort of a cultural way of seeing something, and a very popular use, particularly in political discourses, of war rhetoric, sports rhetoric, war on crime, war on drugs. These aren't real wars; they're metaphorical wars. And so all the baggage associated with war gives us a certain perspective or a certain frame of looking at a particular situation, like war on drugs, war on addiction. And there's lots of things that we can think about with the current things going on in our world. And again, this is very important to me, and this is the last bullet point on this particular slide, whatever slide this is. Remember that language and visuals and all that type of stuff give us a certain perspective of reality. It frames for us, or builds for us, or constructs for us, or crafts for us, whatever, our view of things. So the idea that perception is reality and frame is reality, even though we need to obviously be critical of that, but we also need to understand the importance. As a persuader, we need to understand the importance of using metaphor and language to craft a certain way of, our consumers seeing the world in a particular way. As consumers or persuadees, we need to be very careful and critical of persuaders trying to do that to us. So, Burke had this idea of this reality principle. I basically already said this, but basically metaphors give us a new perspective of something. I already talked about the baggage stuff. Metaphors gives us a way of diagnosing, evaluating, prescribing what to do, war on drugs. But it also hides, so there's other things that we can use. The main thing here, there's a term here that's, I don't think it's in your book, deterministic compulsion. So this idea that we are compulsed to sort of see something this way instead of this way over here because of the metaphors that are used. And metaphors work both visually and verbally, even though this chapter is on verbal stuff. Okay, and that's the really interesting thing, is that reality is built through, in a sense, these metaphors, and can offer a certain attitude, certain ideology, etc., etc., etc. See Burke rocks. Okay, so I found some examples here of ending show, and so I put some new stuff on KC. Thinking about the what's going on in presidential discourse, presidential election, and everything like that. By the way, if you haven't seen the news, Bernie Sanders has now endorsed Clinton. Going to be interesting to see who becomes vice presidential candidates and all that jazz in the next few weeks. But under bookmarks, week 5 lectures and materials, I've found something as a little blog. I don't know exactly who made the blog, but it was good. Neat stuff on metaphor and the election. What's in a Brain is the blog. So if you want to take a look at this, basically it talks about how political discourse is known for being full of metaphors. Yes. So it gives some examples. Trump said, use the metaphor of immigrants as water. We cannot allow illegal immigrants to pour into our country. These are people that shouldn't be in our country. They flow in like water. So all the baggage, it's like a flood, right? So everything associated with that is now placed on this idea of immigration. Immigration becomes the tenor for the vehicle of sort of water. And then Clinton and Sanders use the journey metaphor for people who are here illegally. Path to citizenship, that in itself is a metaphor. Clinton talked about coming up with an education SWAT team. So it's not a real SWAT team, it's a metaphor. So all the baggage associated with that, we've seen lots of SWAT stuff going on, but remember that show? It was awesome. Is now linked to education. National security, Sanders talks about Orwell, which is, nobody's, the regular Joe was not going to know that. But in any case, so if you want to look at this, and here's a meme that was on this. I don't know who created this. It has image credit, something, I don't know. But you look at our borders, they're like Swiss cheese. Metaphor. There's holes in them. People are getting in. cheese. In any case, so one of the things to think about here, obviously from just an educational point of view, if you want to apply this to the presidential election, how are the candidates using metaphor, and therefore how are they trying to get you to see a certain situation in a particular way, and therefore not another way. But we also see folks that are using stuff for tourist attractions, like Colombia. So I have this little bookmark that says, "This is hot." And that is, well, that's the wrong thing. Oh. Okay, we've got weather metaphors are cool. So basically, there's lots of different types of metaphors. And one type of metaphor is like weather and seasonal and all that type of metaphor. And I should have put the Columbia. I don't think I put that on our website. So I'll just search for Columbia is famously hot. So that's the brand. That's the slogan, right? So if I go to their official website, we see, I don't know if you can see it, Columbia, SC, famously hot. The new southern hot spot, hot, hot, hot. So they're playing off that weather metaphor. It is hot. It's hot as hell outside today. It has been all week. But it becomes metaphorical when it is associated with lots of other things. Because hot also means what? It's happening. It's cool. That's ironic. The hot hits. And so when you look at weather metaphors, it's not coming up for me, nogramming.com, but it just has examples of tons of different weather metaphors that people have used. Almost always, the sun and warmth is associated with good things, the light and dark almost always, and cold is associated with bad things. And so again, the way people oftentimes use metaphor, that's not coming up for me. But another little thing that a lot of this theoretically grows out of Michael Osborne. Oh, here comes some stuff. Finally, a growing resource for metaphor, examples, essays, lessons, and lists. Get 48% less email with the messaging app for Teams. Okay. This is still very, very slow. But in any case, it gives you a bunch of examples of weather metaphors, like hot. Grows from Michael Osborne, and I found this little Prezi that you can watch if you so desire, but he wrote an article many, many years ago about archetypal metaphors. These are the common metaphors oftentimes used in discourse. Light and darkness, the sun, heat and cold. It actually has a full transcript of stuff if you want to look at it. The sun has all these examples from Edmund Burke. This light too is past and set forever. All these things, this fire glowing with light warms the body, so intellectual light not only instructs but also stimulates the mind and the spirit. Famously hot. So basically, long and short of it is, we see metaphor all over the place. And it's a way, it's a vehicle to offer a new perspective to something, so your audience will perhaps see something in a certain way and not another way. But again, as a persuadee, we need to be critical of that. So that's stuff on metaphor. I'll be back with more stuff later on.